Hi, Marla. Hey, everybody, welcome in. I was just overpaying the cat tax. I thought, you know, I'm usually talking to myself for the first couple minutes. I think I can sneak over there and so of course that's a sure way to get the chat going. So, how's everybody doing tonight? I think we're finally into a bit of a Tuesday, Wednesday routine with the live stream, so I had got the new palettes I ordered from Jerry's Artarama, and one of the ones I got was this, ordered was this nice large size palette tin, and it holds 48 um, half pans. Actually, you can sneak in a couple of extra. You can sneak 13 in each row, and then if you really want a packet full of paint, uh, these half pans will fit down the middle as well. So you can get quite a few in here, but one of the things that I've had to kind of contend with is having all these paints, and then I'm really not sure what anything looks like, because watercolor paint looks so different in when it's dry in a half pan than it does on the swatch card. If you see these two here at the top, they're very dark brown in the pan, but then just sort of a warm buff color, and they look quite different swatched out. So that's what I'm working on tonight, and for a little bit maybe we'll do some pebble sketches. uh, just mostly wanted to open up a space for people to come and chat about art and hang out. Hey, Funder, how you doing? Thank you so much, I appreciate that. Good to see ya. I was over, doing the nightly hangout over in Turner's earlier, and I wasn't feeling too chatty, but I was kind of watching the chat and hanging out. So yeah, anybody, welcome in, everybody. It's nice to see everybody out there, and I'd love to hear about what you're doing with your art or your craft or your hobby. You tell some fishing stories if you want. Just yeah, just be kind to each other. Mm. So, Thunderstruck says it's 2:30 a.m. I'm still not really tired, but I gotta try and catch some Z's soon. One of the things that can help go to sleep is progressive relaxation meditation, where you just start at your toes. Get yourself comfy in bed, get your good jammies or t-shirt or however you like to sleep, and get under those sheets and start at your toes and imagine these are your toes. Just curl them up, take a breath, and then relax them out. And then tense up your foot, the mid part of your foot, and then take a breath and let it out. And just work up your body, your feet, your ankle, maybe your calves. And you can let out a breath and maybe relax for 2 breaths, and just work your way up. You will find that can often help you fall asleep a little bit faster. So, well, that just ran 20 people out of the chat. It's always, I shouldn't watch that little number at the top, but I do. Anyway, what do you guys think? Maybe should we do a pebble drawing? It's a little bit more dynamic instead of watching me if there was 3 people hanging out, I was just gonna chat art supplies and work on that. But yeah, maybe we'll just do something a little more active since we've. I was looking for a bright one in here. Mm, yeah. So. Yeah, me too. Me too. Sometimes it's just like it's so hard to get your brain to stop running a million miles a minute and to um, just to get it to stop working on all of the things our minds like to work on. And um, so I do like those. I kind of go online and find any kind of meditation that you can do while you're laying stretched out, and it just does kind of change the speed that your brain's going on. So, depending. Sometimes I'll go through phases where if I let my brain slow down a minute, it likes to go into um, it likes to go into some trauma sort of areas if I don't keep it busy. So I guess my message is just know you're not alone in that struggle. And I've been told that when I'm tracing pebbles and talking in a calm tone of voice, it can put some people to sleep. So we'll see what we can do. Yeah, we've got some really, aren't those fun colors? It's kind of soft and pretty. Yeah, it depends on what you're watching. It's Justin, right? Did I get that? I know it's a J, but I always. There's so many of you with names that are different from your on screen nicks, and yeah, it's Justin. And you were working on a tackle box for your daughter, was that correct? I think that's so lovely. Some of my best memories of hanging out with my dad, and he, my dad was, he hung out with my brother a lot, and kind of, if I came out to the garage, he was like, "Go in the kitchen with your mom," But he really liked fishing, and I was pretty lucky. So he would go fishing with me, and or I should say he would tolerate having me tag along with him when we were camping and he was fishing. he didn't he didn't really just go, "Hey, get up! It's 4:30. It's time to head over to the river." But I have a feeling you're going to do much better at that department than my dad did, and it's going to build some really lovely memories for your family. Oh my golly, your dad was a commercial fisherman. Um, yeah, East Coast. I Quite a bit of my family commercially fished. My great uncle was born in Norway, came to the States and settled in Washington State. He fished out of the Columbia River and also up in Alaska. Um, Prince William Sound, a little bit of Bering Sea fishing, but his boys both worked on fishing boats, and I guess like my second cousin Danny, he fished king crab in the Bering Sea. So those kind of Pacific fisheries, I guess. Everything from salmon, halibut, to crab, paleo, king crab. Oh, wow. So Jason fished in Mississippi River around Memphis and Tennessee. So I know, like, if you're in the Gulf Coast, like, some of those boats are shrimpers, and that is some of the hardest work, commercial fishing. But, I used to love to watch my uncle work on, in the off season, he'd be working on repairing nets and stuff with the shuttle, and he'd go out and he'd just be using classic fishing techniques like they did. He grew up in Norway fishing with his grandfather and his father. Just amazing watching how fast he could work repairing nets. I don't know if anybody even uses gear like that anymore. I think most people use the commercial nets and purse seiners and that kind of stuff. Good, good. Sleep well, Jason. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for the fishing talk. And, happy memories. Appreciate that. Oh, you'll never know what you're going to get when you stop in here, do you? You know, we like to keep it random on this channel. We'll see you next time. I'll probably see you more over on Turner's. Or one of yours. You've been running those live streams, so been having fun watching you fish. I like that one the other night you had with the heron. That was pretty cool. So how's everybody doing out there? You guys staying warm? We've had some really brutally cold weather hitting a good portion of the United States here. It's been a little bit chill out here in Oregon, but nothing too harsh. We'll see. We'll see. I think the forecast is calling for some cold. Towards the end of the week, but We had some sunshine today, so cracked open the blinds in the studio and enjoyed a little bit of actual sunshine. Notice that we've got camellias blooming, so that was nice to see. They're a green shrubby tree with these really glossy dark green leaves and pink flowers that are probably about this pink color. Hey Maya, how's it going? Yeah, maybe when we're done here, which is pretty slow tonight. Maybe we'll just go an hour, unless we get some folks in here. If you've got time, maybe we can pop over and talk. My email box has just been rolling with all kinds of stuff today, so when I first started rolling tonight, I looked up and there were like, there's 27 concurrents. And of course, then I promptly opened my mouth and ran them all away. Almost all the way. So, I mean, it's such a mystery, this vertical live streaming. So, I see a few of you out there hanging out and I'd love it if you'd pop in and have a chat with us, but you're not up to it. That's cool too. And if you wouldn't mind leaving me a thumbs up, just double tap that screen. Because there's been somebody who's been hanging out, and every night they like to leave me a thumbs down, which is just petty. Just so petty. Just know that YouTube counts that as engagement. Doesn't really care whether you tell me thumbs up or thumbs down. So, gosh, I guess if you want to stop in every time I'm streaming and give me some engagement, just know every time I see one of those, all I do is smile. It does. It certainly does. Let's throw out a little whatever we throw out, little Little fairy dust there for the engagement. And heck, you know, if you're gonna let me live rent free in your head, that's on you. Oh, hashtag petty for the win. Alrighty. Sure. I mean, I just says more about you than it says about me. Alrighty. Let's just get back to what I started with. Now that Maya's here, we can talk. We can talk pigment codes and all kinds of nerdy art supply stuff. Need a shorter, squatter spray bottle. That one is forever just getting knocked over. But what I had going when I started the live stream was the last page. I've been getting my swatch cards all labeled with the name of the watercolor paint, and then on this one I'm adding the pigment codes. Randy Rabbit, hello, hello, hello. Are you here for art supply nerdery? Cause I hope so, because I got a bucket load of it today. Anyway, I want to say I'm not exactly sure on this, but my theory is that when the material safety data sheets or SDSs came, they became mandatory in the United States in the mid 1980s, and any kind of materials that were used in the workplace had to have a material safety data sheet, which was abbreviated MSDS, and the hazards of materials that were included in anything from industrial cleaners to paints, coatings, just I mean any product you can think of that's used in the workplace. There's a SDS on it now they call them, and I believe that that was about the time that paint manufacturers and art supply manufacturers began to include information about the ingredients in their products. Prop 65 in California has also demanded that there be more disclosure around the ingredients in the art supplies. So, Rabbit says, I'm art journaling, just painting. Love it. Love it. I have been neglecting. I know I always shuttle stuff off. Hold that thought a minute on the MSDSs. I I usually save things on two playlists. One of them is the art journal, and I have not been doing much in my art journal lately, so I'm going to get back to that a little bit more in coming weeks. But in anticipation of that, putting together the swatch cards for all of the paints now that I've got them in palettes. So in the 80s, we began to get more information about what was contained in our art supplies, and one of the bits of information we got was information about the pigments. Now you may have noticed on your tubes of watercolor paint, let me just grab one for reference. Anything sold in the States will have, let me find a Daniel Smith, they're usually pretty clear. You'll have information about what's in it, and in the very tiniest of print we'll have our pigment information, and there's almost always a code. This one has PO48, PY150, and what does that stand for? Well, P is for pigment, O is for orange, Y is for yellow, and there's some standard ones, BR for brown, BL for black, W for white. PB means pigment blue, G for green, V for violet. What am I missing there? R for red. And then there's a number code, and sometimes it's hyphenated. Like you might have PB15-3. The phthalos are divided into like red shade, green shade, yellow shade. So it's a very tiny little bit of information, but with that you can go and do a Google search on that code and find out all kinds of things about that pigment. And what kind of things might you find out? Well, you might find out how translucent it is. You might find out some information about what other pigments it mixes well with. Um, the Dick Blick Art Materials website has pretty good pigment information with lots of interesting things. If you look at a listing for a tube of watercolor, and then there's some places that you can click for more information or pigment information, and it just opens a whole new world with uh, what you can do with the art supplies you already have. So, in my own nerdy way, just I'm down that rabbit hole, and so I wanted to include that pigment information on my swatch cards. Um, One of the other reasons I'm kind of trying to crack that code is now that we've got the super granulating colors coming out from many companies, a lot of those will include 2 or 3 different pigments. And sometimes you've got those, like maybe quinacridone gold seems to be in quite a lot of them. And PBK11, which is Mars Black, which is a really granulating. Um, I actually probably have it here in my swatch card. One of them. Yeah, the Lunar Black. This lovely black right here. See, it's got just a lot of character and a lot of um, granulation in it. And that's one of the ingredients that goes into the Daniel Smith Lunar Blue. So I wish that I could afford to have all of those fancy colors, but I don't. But when I can get some clue about what ingredients are in some of the, like particularly the Schminke Horadam, I'm very fascinated with those colors right now, and I just can't quite decide which ones I want to order. But so you can replicate some of those effects just by combining pigments you already have. So it's a bit of a recipe, I guess I would say. And can I answer any nerdy questions about that? Yeah, Thalo. Are you making paint jokes again? No shade in that, Thalo. Oh, Maya. Oh, Maya has an announcement to make. She wants us all to know that she is, once again this week, rearranging her palette. Oh, gosh. Hey, if you're having fun and you're happy in the way you're working with your art supplies, who am I to say that, hi, Jurgen, you don't always have to just be painting with them. You're perfectly, they're yours. If you want to, oh, that reflection's just bugging me. There we go. Yeah, if it makes you happy to just rearrange your art supplies, just go for it. Yeah, so I'll sometimes I'll get an idea in my head. I'll have, I don't know how you guys work, but I will have something in my head, and it could be a color, it could be it's usually a whole composition, right? A lot of times my paintings will start in my head, and I want to express the visual idea that I have in my head. So I might know what color I want, I just might not know how to get it out of what I have. So I'm hoping that this new rabbit hole of trying to become familiar with the pigments um, is going to inform my painting a little bit better. And probably the the maybe one of the biggest gains or advantages of knowing this is I tend to look at the color swatches on the websites or in the art supply store and go, boy, that's really a beautiful color. And because we're drawn to the things we like, right? And then I will tell you more than once I've gotten home and I've looked and realized that I've got, I may or may not have, obtained virtually the same yellow. And had I had some idea that about what the pigment codes are, I would realize that I've just purchased like the brand name like Windsor Yellow. Very similar to lemon yellow, or maybe it's similar to cadmium yellow light. So it can help you to maybe make some distinctions if you're trying to decide between two colors, and you look at the pigment codes and realize, wow, they're both made with the same pigment, so you're buying the same thing. And you may be able to get, maybe able to buy a more economical brand, or just make the purchase that works better for you. Yeah, Maya says in knowing the pigments you can mix a lot of the cool colors instead of buying them. Now some of them you're just not going to be able to do, like the Primatech ones in the Daniel Smith range. Those are made from things like hematite or bloodstone, zoisite, piemontite, and there's no pigment code for that. That's because they're really not sold by the boxcar load in the way that other things like iron oxide is just moved by boxcar loads. It piles up in mountains at places where chemicals like that are made or mined. So you're not going to find it for everything, but you're going to find it for quite a few things. So that was, I think that was pretty comprehensive coverage of that. No questions. So Maya says the Primatech colors often can be mixed. You just have to know what to do. Now, if we're talking about something like, I don't like Moon Glow, that's one of the super granulating colors, but I don't know if it's Primatech. I'm thinking Primatech are the ones that are, well, let's just answer the question. Bloop. Alrighty. So I think of the Primatech as being the ones that are made from semi-precious stones and rhodonite, amazonite, bronzite, tiger's eye, genuine. They make paint out of tiger's eye, isn't that just gorgeous? Serpentine. So on their brochure, I'm not seeing. I was looking at Mayan blue to see if maybe that one might be made of different pigments, and it's not. So I think we've got to go into like their luminescent line. Those are going to have some pigment codes. And on the brochure, like we see PW20, that's pigment white 20 is mica, and then it says iron oxides. PW6 is probably, is that lithopone white or titanium white? Yeah, no, Moonglow is not a Primatech one. And so yeah, and I'm not advocating that you try to rip off the paint, but there might be something you see that just inspires you to get into your own paints. And if you've got the pigment, you might be able to mix something that's pretty close to it. So here's Rose of Ultramarine. It's got PB29, which is an ultramarine blue, and then PV19, which Oh, double check me, Maya. I think that's quinacridone violet. And moon glow. That's one of my favorites here. Imperial purple I have. Also PB29 and PV19. And when that one dries down, it's got this beautiful separation of color into this very blue violet color and then a pink color. So yeah, lunar blue. Here's one we were working on that's PB15 and PBK11. And PBK11 is that Mars black. PB15, that's gonna put us in phthalo blue. Scratching my head. Hoping there won't be a test on this later. There's no test. And there's no math. Yep. So Aussie red gold, that one's really gorgeous. It's just a surprise to me sometimes to find out like what goes into that color that makes it so beautiful. And it's got a yellow pigment, 83, a PR101, which is your standard kind of PR101 or 102. It's just iron oxide, and that's a really traditional ingredient. And then the surprise in there is PV19. Yep, there it is, quinacridone violet, PV19. So it adds a kick. So as I'm looking at this brochure, it's making me very curious about PV19. So the next time I buy a tube of paint, I might go with quinacridone violet and then add it in and see what it does and how it boosts up some colors that are already in my palette. So yeah, I feel like I've nerded out on that hard enough. Alrighty. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is just gonna. I think if you guys have some questions for me, then this won't be terribly boring, but if there's no questions, then this might be a bit tedious. We'll go back and do another pebble drawing. Naples yellow. Yeah, no, I don't think. I think that's gonna just. If it's gonna bore me, it's for sure gonna bore you guys. So I worked on a stack of blanks the other day. Anyway, that's why this has been taking so long, because I just chip away on it a little bit at a time, and then it begins to just feel a little bit like homework. So Maya says, I try to buy mostly single pigment colors, except the super granulating ones, and other cool convenience colors. And that's a great tip. If you're going to be mixing your colors, I find the single pigment colors are more brilliant, and then if you're mixing them with something else, they have more clarity to them. Sometimes when I'm mixing things that are made up of multiple ingredients, it just end up with mud on the palette. So, Randy, or I'm sorry, Rabbit. I'll get with the program here. I'm speaking a foreign language to you because you are not an artist. You're a lady who lives alone with her dog and does art journals and junk journals on a kindergarten level. I don't do artist grade stuff, so you're basically just listening. Okay, thanks for that feedback. Yeah, I think uh, I love that one. I love that. Let me just. Okay, I kind of got you. Yeah, I kind of got you plugged in when you were here with a different Nick, and so thank you for that. Randy says I can still call Rabbit by her name, their name, Randy. And thank you, because I just got it chucked into the old memory bank that way. And wonderful. Randy says, I'm basically playing around. That is fantastic. That is absolutely, really just, a, if you can get into your project and you feel like you are playing, you are doing it right. You're absolutely, yeah, and you're doing mixed media. I love that. I love that. Yeah, were you here? Did you see my sunflowers that I was working on? I got a little bit into the. I've just been trying to guide myself back to the art journal because I just did find that that was very playful, and it really made me happy to just spend time gluing stuff onto paper. But I was working with some chalk and then got the paint out, and also the Neocolor, those water soluble crayons, and what else did I have in here? Some the gel sticks. I haven't quite, slapped the paint on the bubble wrap and put it on and peeled it off and really got into it um, too much, but I feel like this one's on some pretty thin paper, so I will tear it down to size and glue that into the art journal and just get back to it. And so, yeah, let's keep poking me about the art journal stuff. Because I am definitely down the rabbit hole with the rock paintings. And yeah. So all you really need to know about the paint, and this is true even if you're down the rabbit hole like I am, is that if you like the color and it makes you have a happy vibration about the work you're doing, you're on the right track. And keep following that. I think it's probably way more important that you're enjoying your process and that you're playing and having enjoyment than it is to be able to recite off pigment. It's my way of having a little bit of, um, it's a special interest, and that's how I explore it and find my way through it. But everybody's got a different way through it, and whichever route you're taking, if you're ending up where you're at your workbench and you're engrossed in your work and you're losing track of other stuff for a while because you're in a flow state, that's the goal. The goal is not to be able to reel off pigment codes. But if it makes you happy to reel off pigment codes, then yeah, I'm all for that too. So, Randy doesn't like doing crosswords or word searches, so it's your crossword time. Just playing and enjoying. That's fantastic. Yeah. Gluing, painting. You make little books for journals? Redo old envelopes, make envelopes, freestyle, and I love listening to the paint stuff. Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, well, sometimes it's just like it could just be curiosity. Like, what the heck is all of these things seem to have these codes on them? What do they mean? And or sometimes if you mix two things together and it just doesn't go right, and you think, oh, maybe you did something wrong. Well, no, maybe it's sometimes because there's a weird pigment mix. Uh, so I have a question for you. Do you do any like jelly printing or any of that kind of stuff yet? I bought I got into the graphite paint. These all look a little dull on camera, but they do have some cool shapes here. I don't know. I feel like I want something brighter. I don't know. I've been avoiding the green. Yeah, so I bought one of those jelly plates for mono printing because I have a whole cache of uh, acrylic paint that's become quite thick and sticky, which should actually work pretty well for the mono printing process. And I notice I'm 2/3 of the way through. Yeah, that you okay? So Randy says I have a jelly plate, but haven't used it yet. Me too, because I bought one in the last order, and I thought that's what I want to try in the new year and just see if what the jelly printing is about. And let me just grab that if in case anybody's curious about what they look like. Crunchy noises coming. So these are a gel material, and they evolved. There was just sort of a movement in mono printing where people were actually pouring layers of jello, or Knox clear gelatin, and using it to print. And the gel plates evolved out of that. So the technique is basically you pull these backing sheets off. You clean them up. They're reusable. If you pour yourself a tray of Jello, you get pretty limited use out of it. It's a little bit wasteful. So we've gotten these gel plates, and they're squishy, and you can put stuff on them and put images on them. You can paint onto them, and you build up layers. And then when you get enough layers on them, there's a ton of techniques you can use, but you basically build an image on this plate, and then you would take a piece of paper, and this is what we'll not today, but we will be doing soon. You can take your paper, and then you have it cut to the size of the plate, and you lay that on there, and you using some sorts of techniques that I'm not super clear on it yet, but I'm going to figure it out. We're going to do that here coming up, and just play around with that a little bit. And you transfer the image, and then when you peel the paper off, what you've had on your gel plate is transferred onto the paper. So then you will have what's called a mono print, meaning one print. Most printing is done in a series, so that you might, get 10 impressions or 100 impressions or whatever your edition is. A mono print just means you're using printmaking techniques to get one piece of artwork. Occasionally with these plates, you can put a second print on. It's technically a second mono print. It's not two in an edition, because most of your ink or your paint will come off and stay on the first one, so your second one, they won't be matched. In addition, you want your prints to all look one like the other. So, yeah, and so many things on it. Like you can put the paint down, and then you might press a piece of bubble wrap in and pull the bubble wrap off. Let that layer dry, put a layer of acrylic that's maybe translucent, and then put something else and make some marks in it and wash a little bit of it off, and you just build up that layer, and then the final layer is generally a layer of acrylic rolled on, and then you put the paper on and you let it dry for several minutes, and then when you peel it off, that acrylic sticks to the paper, and it takes all of that image back up off that jelly plate. That's the thing about the jelly plate, is it's going to release whatever media you put onto it, and that'll allow you to transfer it to the paper. And then we'll see just what kind of magical sorts of things that we can, I'll be making a few backgrounds and going, I'm going to take a pen and turn that into pebbles. I expect there'll be a few of those, but yeah, and I will say I will not be leading that. I will be following the. There's so many people that have done so many wonderful videos on monoprinting on YouTube. So I will be down that rabbit hole looking at other artists, and I invite you guys to do that too if you're interested in monoprinting, and then maybe we'll be exploring that. Yeah, so uh, we'll just be doing a little bit of that coming up. So and I don't really know how much of it, because it is a process where you are putting it on and then waiting for it to dry. So sure how well that's going to work in a live streaming format like I use, but we'll see. We'll do a little something with it. So yeah, Randy says I've heard people say they can't stop once they get started with the mono printing. Yeah, and so that's another use of that. Randy says, "Oh, we'll be doing it not for mono printing, but for mixed media. So you can put all kinds of stuff on there, and then take that plate, put it on your art journal, and smush it down, and then peel it off." And um, Maya's always got the practical advice. Maya says, "Hair dryer. Use a hair dryer." I'm not sure. Is that part of mono? Yeah, I just haven't explored it enough. My immediate was like, what if you hurt the jelly plate? But they're very durable, so very very durable tool. So yeah, yeah. So just a new tool there. So I know sometimes it looks like we're just kind of stuck on the pebble drawing, but I've often got a little something up my sleeve, a little something. Yeah, I'm with you too. To dry the paint. Oh, it's not so much on the paper, right? Because you build up the things that you're doing on the jelly plate, right? And some of the layers you let dry, and then you use a brayer to roll on a thin layer of acrylic. And if you're working in washes, it'll stay translucent. And particularly interested in the things that use magazine clippings, where a thin layer of paint is brayered onto the jelly plate, and then a magazine clipping is pressed into it and let to dry for a few minutes. And then when you peel it off, the part that has it behaves differently. You can transfer basically a mirror image of what that image is. And I've just got tons of clippings in my stash of well, boxes of crap that clutter up the studio space. To be frank, it's it's no great treasure, but it's a trove for sure. So that was my brain's just all a jitter up. I'm just gonna calm myself down here with a little bit of pebble sketching. But yeah, I wasn't sure about that. I didn't know if anybody out there would just go, well, that's not what we do. But I, I think a little art journaling is probably in order. I got a box of ephemera and souvenirs from the last couple of years, and I'd like to get them tucked into the journal. That's what I like to put um, tickets and stubs and stickers and things that I kind of collect on my rambles. And I have enjoyed going back through the art journal that I completed last year. I picked it up to look up something the other day. I was trying to remember the place I'd ridden on a vintage train, and I went back in my art journal, and there was a whole page that had all the tickets from the different trains. And so I think just more art journaling. I was kind of new to that a couple of years ago, but it's really taken my imagination. Yeah, thank you, Jurgen. Okay. Yeah, I think I've created some confusion about whether the paint on the plate is dry or wet, and I think like to get it to peel off. This is my understanding is like you've wet acrylic on, and then you place the paper down, but you've got if you just pulled it back off, you would get an image, but towards the end of the process, you want to have the paint adhere to the paper, so it does have to get dry enough so that when you peel it up, everything comes up off the plate. So, and apparently that's quite tricky to find that balance point and not have it completely stuck so that you're just really, um, okay. Alrighty, see, I knew the answers would be right here for us. So Randy is saying you peel the paper off when it's still wet, and then you would set the paper aside to to dry. No, for mixed media, you just peel it off, not no real waiting time. Okay. So I was curious about the ones that were basically a photo transfer. So you could print out images from, like, your own artwork rather than. I'm actually not super interested in using commercial clippings because I didn't make those images. I'm more interested in putting my own images into my monoprints. But you can, with a computer printer and a particular type of, um, and I don't recall right now if it's laser printing or otherwise, but you can print off images that can be integrated into your printmaking. So, yeah, some nights I'm better at keeping my concentration on the pen and the paper. Jurgen, appreciate the reminder. Oh, yeah. Try to do the mindfulness drawing. You know that thing where you put the pen on the paper and actually do the thing? Or some nights I'm just, the ADD is, it's off to the races. I'm really excited that, about the jelly printing though. It's not the jelly printing. I'm excited that I found people to talk to about the jelly printing. So, yeah. Yeah, and like I said, you saw it. It's brand new in the package. I really don't know what the heck I'm talking about yet. I just know what I was kind of gathered from, yeah, looking at YouTube for 5 minutes because, that makes us experts right away, right? It, but in all seriousness, and respect to the people that are putting out the tutorials, YouTube is it's so full of wonderful artists who are sharing what they do and they're sharing their techniques and just so- just I love learning. I love learning about this stuff, and I'm just grateful to people who are putting out information that I can go and, uh, it's like taking a class, but um, people are very generously sharing their knowledge and sharing their art, and I really just appreciate all the artists out there who are helping other people learn new things. You guys know when I'm quiet and I paused and the pen is here, I just want to fill in the space with 57 little circles, but I think it looks better if I stop there. Yeah. So at any rate, I think it's going to be, it'll be fun to watch me bumble my way through it as I figure it out. So that'll be something. That will be something. Ooh, look at this one. Should do kind of a mysterious and complex one. So, so some of the paint on here is the new Primatech paint that I got. The new Sleeping Beauty turquoise, I think. But it's just got I don't know how well that's conveyed over the camera because this one's a bit of a um, it's a bit densely filled, but it's got a very almost a I don't know how to describe it, a visual texture to it that's really different from some of the other watercolor paints I've used. So just really inspired by these Primatech colors. Yeah, so Randy, I'm gonna read that, try to read that. Maya says, oh yes, all I know about art is from YouTube. Yeah, it's really wonderful. And Randy Rabbit says, well, thanks for the reminder that for being grateful that people come on and share their knowledge. It means a lot to me. Yeah, feet are freezing. Yeah, get those slippers, man. We gotta stay warm. I think we're just in such a cold snap here. Alrighty, that's a little bit more manageable. I had to, had to kind of go pawing through the drawer to find some wool socks and realized I had not switched out from kind of the fall assortment of things and ended up taking the drawer apart because I've kind of got like the summer socks with the, just the little ankle socks so you run around in the summer in, and just those were not cutting it. It's gotten cold enough. I need the crew socks that are woolly. So I think I was a little late this year in getting things switched over. But it is definitely wintertime. So wait a minute, did I see something? I gotta... hmm. Oh, the puppy. The puppy has your slippers. Oh, so Randy says, I have a puppy now, so your life is all puppy, 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 puppy. That sounds, it sounds like a certain kind of fun. Mm. Maya, who's coming to with us, she's from Norway, says it's freezing here too, and today the electricity is over 200 times more expensive than yesterday. It's insane. Oh, does it rate like depending on what the demand is on the system, you pay more? Because that's really crappy. Or fair. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you are on the buying end, it must really. That's a bummer. And if you're on the selling end, that's kind of fantastic. Uh, it's minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit in western Massachusetts right now. Holy smokes. Yeah. I think I think you and Maya's got a little bit of puppy fever lately. Yeah, I'm wondering how long is that phase where they just chew on everything they can get their mouth on? Does that have a family member who has German shepherds, and she usually keeps two dogs at a time, and she kind of staggers them, so it just seems like she's always got a puppy. And this last one she had like 2 years old, and I was like, doesn't it just ever outgrow that need to put its mouth on everything? And she said some dogs just kind of are that way. So Maya says, where she's at in Norway, the price of electricity varies from day to day and hour to hour. It will be the most expensive between 5 and 6 p.m. today. So, like when that's the highest demand, right? People come home from work and they're making dinner, and so that would just put me on an eat at 10 p.m. schedule for sure. Oh, 4 months old. Oh, they're so cute. They're like roly poly at that age. Uh, yeah. I don't think. I think they can. Like they can't resist it, right? Because their teeth are coming in and they're just learn, and their little puppy legs are still in a different place than they were yesterday at that age. You kind of just have to enjoy the puppiness of it all for that stretch of time. And from what I understand, some breeds of dogs will be in their puppy phase for 10 months or a year, and there's some other breeds of dogs that are in puppy stage for 2 years. So I do know if you've got a German Shepherd and you're spoiling it, it'll stay in puppy stage for a good 6 years so far. She said, "Wow, might be a cat person." That sounds like a fairly manageable sort of a dog. I'm really resisting the... I want to draw bigger shapes, but there's so many little pebbly shapes in this one. And I feel like I'm just struggling to do what the paper wants done to it. Still surprises me how unique each of these little squares of paper can be. So I was trying to get to the post office last week and did not manage to do it, and I am so behind on that. I've got an order that's going out, and I don't know if the person is watching or will watch this on replay, but if I can find a secure way to package it up, I may just put it in a box. I'm just kind of keep worrying that if I package the painting in an envelope that it's just going to get folded over and jammed into a little mailbox. So, and that has just kept me sort of paralyzed for several days trying to figure out how to get the painting shipped. So, um, yeah, if probably just need to tell myself that it's just a piece of paper, and if the postal service delivers millions of pieces of paper every day without problems. And if there's a problem, it's pretty, it's paper, it's paint. We got more, we'll make more. A shipping tube. Ah. Yes, Jurgen, I can use a shipping tube. That's a great idea. Thank you. That'll do it. That will solve the problem. Oh, you guys are helpful. Thank you. Well, Maya says, can I put it on a piece of cardboard? And I was, and then I went and got something out of my mailbox the other day, and my mailbox actually is probably 14 inches wide. It's like 3 inches tall, but it's really deep and it's wide. And there was no reason for it, and for some reason the mailman folded it in half and jammed it in there. And that was just enough to make me just have a whole bunch of anxiety and spiraling worry about trying to ship this thing. Because what I got was in like the Postal Service prepaid mailer. Like there was just no reason to jam it in half. But, you know, people, I guess. Yeah, but a mailing tube, like they would have to really, like, that would have to be mangled and it would go in, and I think I might even have because it's not super big. Well, I don't know, it's watercolor paper. Like, I'm test bending it. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. I think a trip to the office supply store and to ask them for advice might be. Or else just go down to UPS and say, will you guys package this? Because. But my thought was, like, if I put it in a shallow box, like, they'd have to really crumple that to. Uh, hello. I'm Janelle, and I'm an overthinker. Ah, head full of squirrels. And not like calm, happy squirrels, like manic, caffeinated squirrels. Oh, Maya said the backside of paper pads are so stiff it's hard to fold it. I like that. I like where you're going with that. May or may not have a stack of those sitting around here too. But I'll use it for mixed media. I have to keep that good stuff. Yeah. Jurgen says a friend of mine buys art when she travels and she brings it home rolled up in tubes. I did that too when I was in Europe. For my souvenirs, I bought prints and posters, and uh, I had several tubes in my luggage when I came home. And I will say that art makes really wonderful souvenirs for when you're traveling. And all of these years later, like I'm looking right up at I've got a print that I bought in Florence, Italy that was um, a Michelangelo drawing it was off of a plate. It's not numbered or anything. It's mass produced, and the plate was probably re-etched, 15 times over the years. But it's uh, it's just really a pleasure to look at it, and it's a reminder of the time spent there. And yeah, if I can find a short, kind of a fairly big around tube, I think I can get that in there. As the watercolors are a little bit different than prints or posters because those tend to be on uh, paper that's more lighter weight paper. And then I need to get that figured out because I may or may not have a package that may or may not be headed to Norway here soon. Let's see. I missed something here. Oh, okay. All right. I see what you're saying. I knew there was something about the very, very cold temperatures in the dog, and yeah, no, just not able to take him outside and burn some of that puppy energy off. Ooh. Yeah, no, I don't blame you for not wanting to go outside when it's minus 10. Can't fault you or the puppy, either one. That's ridiculously cold. We sure have had some wild weather events lately, and it feels like Oregon has, we've gone through several years of just devastating wildfires. In 2020, we just had some entire communities just lost to the wildfires. And last summer, I think we made it through without too many. I'm trying to think. I don't even. We might have had one conflagration declared by the governor. That's when multiple wildfires merge together, and then they declare the conflagration, which brings in more firefighting resources. But we got off pretty easy last summer and fall compared to previous years. But um, certainly, Southern California have just had I mean, I don't remember fire ever roaring through the populated areas like it has down in Los Angeles area. And then these polar vortex cold fronts that are coming in and dropping snow on Texas, for Pete's sake. And so far in Oregon, we're into, late January. We haven't had snow, I don't think. I don't think we've even had any flurries. We might have had one day where there were a few flakes in the air last fall, but very often we'll have snow on the valley floor in western Oregon by now, and it was in the 30s here today, which is downright balmy compared to some of what y'all are going through out there. And I suppose that the thing about weather is like, it's unpredictable, it's going to change, it's going to be. But I just don't expect it to be so head scratchingly. Yeah, like, where did this come from? Or this is a different thing than I've noticed ever before in my, I'm in my 7th decade of stalking the planet, and had no recollection of ever being under an evacuation warning to be in the Willamette Valley area and to be worried about fire coming down the canyon. It's not anything in my lifetime of living in the Pacific Northwest that I'd ever seen, so. But I was saying earlier that I noticed that the camellia trees or bushes were covered in their pink blooms. Those are starting to open here, and the crocus will be up. They're almost always up by the end of January. There's a lovely show of these little yellow, pink, or not pink, but yellow and purple, and sometimes white crocus. Uh, we we have some that bloom in this time of the winter, and then some that bloom in the fall, and they're a very welcome sight after some dreary gray days of winter, or the cold of winter. And then it won't be long until daffodils are popping up, and certainly may not seem like spring is imminent when it's minus 10, minus 30 degrees, but try to hang in here because spring will come with all of the hyacinths and the tulips and narcissus. By May, here in the Pacific Northwest, by May we get iris that bloom, and all of this harsh snow and cold weather will just be a shiver of a memory. Well, that one took a minute. Alrighty, folks, we're coming up to an hour and a half. I think I'm going to wrap it here. Then we'll do a little art show you what we worked through. Just 3 drawings and a couple of swatches. I want to thank everybody for coming in and spending time and chatting, and I appreciate your comments and likes. And any new subscribers, welcome. Old subscribers, welcome back. Let's look at that one a little bit longer. Isn't that fun? Just those colors. Oop. Be sure and shout out Maya for her help with modding and always bringing that wonderful knowledge about art supplies. And yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it? There's a sort of a quality to it I can't really describe. That those Primatech colors are really something to work with. So we got a little bit of the swatching done. I know I titled this one swatching, so I don't know how much credit we get for actually completing any getting these worked through, but there was a bit of it. I'll probably go through and retitle this one afterwards because it was much more chat and pebbles than it was actually swatching. But thanks everybody for coming in. I hope you'll make some time, get into your art supplies, get after that art journal, and just, if you're having fun, you're doing it right. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.